Yes, hello everybody. Welcome to the United Stand. It's the Fan Forum. On a Fan Forum where we can just chill, relax, and talk about a structured, well thought one football match, and more importantly, a football match in the Champions League, which takes the Europa League completely out of the question for a whole season, and that is what's important tonight. Joining me, I've got Levin here, I've got Jordan, I've got Kev. Beth will be joining us shortly as well. I've had my say on my fan vlog. I'm going to get into the guys' thoughts on this and bring up some other points moving forward. Plenty to talk about, actually. First of all, Levin, you good, mate?
Yeah, I'm actually really excited. I just found out you got a TikTok, so I can't wait to.
No, I've not. I'm old school, guys. I was trying to describe I'm on the clock, and I said TikTok, not knowing what sort of world I was living in. And yeah, the young pups of our United Stand team have pulled me on it. So yeah, moving on though. Levin, I'm going to start with you, mate. What can we say, really, mate? It wasn't pulling up trees, but kind of had a game plan. It worked well and got the job done, mate, didn't it?
Yeah, and I was just saying it off air, and I'll repeat it here because I think under different circumstances with a permanent manager or under Ollie or under whoever it's going to be, you would look at the first half maybe and you'd go, I didn't like that, or you could be a bit nitpicky about certain things. But with Carrick, as the interim to the interim, it seems like, his job to me is not to play nice football. He was part of the coaching staff under Ollie. We know that he's limited to an extent, right? Like, I'm not worried about how. I'm worried about the what. And the what in this case is making sure we're not in the Europa League. And that was so important. So I'll clap Carrick. Look, I'm not insinuating that he should be anywhere near the permanent job, but well done, Carrick. Good job. Keep it up. If you have to do it on the weekend as well, go out and do it. I'll be supporting you. But you know what I mean? That's it. I have nothing to really complain about when it comes to the game plan.
Yeah, Jordan, mate. I mean, it looked like, first of all, Jordan, mate, a clean sheet in the Champions League, pal. I mean, you can't complain, can you, mate, with that? And it looked like, yeah, there was some hairy moments. De Gea played his part again. Let's not forget David again, absolute superstar this season for us, and pulled us out of so much shit, mate. But you know what? Solid. It looked like we just said, let's just try not to make any mistakes and just stay in the game, Jordan, mate, really, didn't it, first half?
Yeah. First of all, clean sheet. Felt bloody good. Got a big up De Gea once again. Like, what a season he's having, even amongst all the crap that's happening around him. He's keeping a cool head. Sancho scoring, like, what a moment for him. You can see that's really helped him, and I hope he massively kicks on now. Yeah, it's one of those that if that was... We've seen that performance under Ollie so many times where we haven't actually really played well, but we've got the result.
Oh my God, I was all over that place in my match vlog. I didn't know what to say because the first half and after Bruno came on, it was...
We're live, Beth. We're live, by the way. Yeah, we're live. You've done it again. You've done it again. Jordan, carry on, mate.
Oh, I love it. You just interrupted my masterpiece of an introduction. It's done.
That's it. So everybody, this is Beth on the channel to talk about win. Jordan, carry on where you left off there, mate, in terms of Jadon Sancho. I think you were touching on, if you can, mate, please.
Beth has just come in hot and heavy, like straight in.
I didn't realise you were making a point. I'm sorry.
Fuck's sake. Buzzing for Sancho. We've seen those performances time and time again under Ollie where we haven't actually played that well, but we've managed to get the result. But like Levin said, to reiterate the point, when you're the interim of the interim, all you want to do is it's all about the end product. What is the end result? There's no Thursday night football. We've turned on the magic when we needed to. We've picked up the 3 points. We've cemented our place. And that is ultimately what is important. I think you looked at the bench and their reaction. I was listening to Mark's watch along and he was like, look at the state of them. Look how they're reacting. Looks like they've won the World Cup. But those lads must have been under immense pressure. And, you know, Solskjaer's Scholes' comment, just before kickoff, that isn't going to help the situation. So I think it was just utter relief from those lads on the touchline, because ultimately I think, you know, we all agree they all should have went at the same time. But that will do them the world of good going into the weekend. It's exactly what we needed. If we would have had another loss tonight, I would have dreaded the weekend's performance. But I'm actually a little bit more optimistic given the fact that we've actually got a win and we can now go out on the front foot.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, I'll give Beth time to settle down and get her wits about her. On the game tonight, it's like Jordan said there, it was just a case of getting a result. I think everyone said it. The commentators saying, oh, God, how many times they said it? It's not about the performance. It's about the result. Just get this done. It's sort of like a free pass while Carrick's in charge, really. We've just got to get through these games. And you know what? Credit to him. Substitutes, I thought, on point timing-wise as well, mate. And overall, he handled the night quite well, I thought, Carrick, with his interview before the game. I've not heard anything after the game, but he just said he knew what he wanted to do. He had a plan, and it did look like it, mate, really, didn't it?
Yeah. Carrick's at the wheel.
No, he's not, mate.
I'm only joking.
Don't start that.
If Ed Woodward's watching and he's thinking of getting carried away and handing it to Michael Carrick, down with that kind of thing.
Don't need to spend any money, eh?
Exactly. I think it was more about getting that result this evening. It depends where you look at it. I don't think we're going to go that deep into this competition, but the last thing I want to be doing is pissing around on a Thursday night in some daft country, you know, and it's Thursday, Sunday. I'd rather be in the Champions League, and it feel-good factor. Can you even say that, really? Paul Scholes, what he said before the match about it being a disgrace that them lot are still there. Manchester United have made the decision to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, if all the coaching staff went as well, which I think they should do when a permanent manager is brought in, fair enough. But the least they could do tonight was go out there and try and do something for Manchester United, and least of all the players. I thought it was a big call to leave out Bruno Fernandes, not something that I disagreed with, because I think he's been bang out of form. You could probably argue the fact, what's Harry Maguire doing playing? We've got a massive game on Sunday, and if you're looking to bring somebody in alongside Lindelof, maybe this evening was the night to try it out. Positives, Jadon Sancho probably showing us exactly what he can do, and it just goes to show when you play him on the right-hand side, which is where he played his best football for Dortmund. Donny van der Beek gets a start again. Didn't think he did much wrong, and I will give Fred credit because I've slagged him off on this channel. And maybe if you get the blend right in that midfield, Fred could do a job. And the 2 goals were from Fred, closing down quickly. 2 goals where we've pressed, which I've not seen from Manchester United in ages. We've kept a clean sheet. Is that the first time since the Tottenham game? And yeah, it's just strange because I'd forgotten what it felt like to win a game of football. So I think there's positives to take. I've just watched Mark and what he had to say after it, and there was quite a bit of negativity coming from him. He was looking at certain things that I didn't sort of look at and maybe don't agree with, but that's what football's about, all about opinions, and I would tend to take the positives from it.
Yeah.
Is that super chat legit? Is that super chat legit? Is that what Carrick said?
I don't know, mate. I don't want to. I just want to. I want to ignore. I'm not for listening to interviews with United staff at the moment. I don't think this is the staff that will be in charge. So I'm just going to enjoy it. Like Levin said, I'm going to enjoy it. Yeah. That's it.
Madness.
Hello.
Sunday football, Beth. You go out at weekends, Beth. It's no good being hungover going to United game on a Sunday. We haven't got that now. That's what's important, surely, out of tonight, isn't it, Beth?
Exactly. Do you know what? That's the only thing I was thinking. Even though obviously
lifestyle.
Yeah, a draw would be a great
priorities.
Result. It would have been a good result, a draw, but I was thinking to myself, God, I really hope we get the win because I know if it rested on young boys, you know, with Manchester United in these types of games, you can't trust them to go and win that game. You really can't. And I didn't want to be turning up to Old Trafford that night thinking, oh my God, it's all or nothing here. So the fact we went and got the win at Villarreal away as well, and I don't think we've won away in the Champions League since PSG, was it? Okay.
No, and no English team have beaten Villarreal at home in about 3 years. So, you know what I mean?
So, you know, it's positive all around. The first half, I still don't think the first half was acceptable. I know it was a game plan, as people are saying, and that was the point, to keep it defensive, keep it tight, and then go and win it in the second half. But I just thought the first half was so negative. Like again, you saw the problem with the midfield. The midfield is so poor at distributing the ball out from the back, and Donny was getting bypassed in the number 10 role because of this. All of these things, and obviously when Ronaldo scores that goal, all of that goes out the window, and you're happy to get the result. But the positive parts of the game that I can see is we've got our first away game in the Champions League since PSG. We've not got Europa League football, thank God for that. And some players like Jadon Sancho getting the first goal for Manchester United, he really looked like he was kind of getting himself into some sort of form. And it was so good for the fans and the players and whatever coach is coming in next to see what he can do and what influence he can have on his team, because I think he's going to be a really important player for Manchester United in the future. You also saw other things like we've always played with a 4-2-3-1, but the midfield was a lot more cohesive, especially in the second half. And I do think that, as Kev said, it did bring the best out in Fred. Do I think Fred's a world beater? Absolutely not. But it definitely plays to his strengths a lot more. And I thought Bruno, when he came on, was playing a little bit more deeper, and him playing that deeper role was so much better for us throughout the midfield. It wasn't as open. I think players got on the ball more, kind of the wingers, Rashford and Sancho and Ronaldo, and I thought it really worked to play them passes in between the lines, and I thought Bruno did that amazingly. I thought it was his best performance in a long time, and people are saying don't drop Bruno, and 100% he's our best midfielder. There's no doubt about it. But maybe he needed that rest to kind of reset, think about what he's going to do, how he's going to play deeper. And when he came on, he brought his A game, and I thought he played amazingly. And he's a big reason why we did win that game.
True. I mean, Levin, mate, Beth touched on Bruno there. I mean, we talked about it on the Sunday show about having the balls to drop some of the bigger players. You know what I mean? If they're playing bad, doesn't mean he should play every week. And this is where Ollie went wrong a lot of the time, mate, in a lot of the fans' eyes. He was saying, look, we can obviously see on the pitch that the performances aren't great. And why are these players consistently playing week in, week out? There's no sort of punishment for poor performances. Bruno came off the bench today. Mate, he could have had a hat-trick of assists if Sancho and Rashford had their shooting boots on. Do you know what I mean, mate? And that little bit of discipline from a manager, and hopefully the new guy who comes in will be the same, not be afraid to leave out certain players, goes a long way, mate. The players take it on board. And if they're good enough, you get results like that in the second half, mate.
No, 100%. And I was really sort of, I was surprised. I was impressed by that sort of approach because, and there were other places on the pitch where I think people felt players deserved to be dropped, i.e. Maguire. I know a lot of people thought McTominay as well. But Bruno, I don't think there were many people that outside of that would have went, Bruno didn't deserve to be dropped. Right? He's not been great recently. And so, to see him come on, it was great, right? That deeper role where, a lot of the first half, what was bad about the first half really was when we had possession, we didn't know how to build up from the back. We didn't know how to get the ball through the middle third. And you have Bruno who comes on in the second half. Bear in mind, you could tell Villarreal were a bit gassed, but he comes on and he goes and he just wants to get the ball. He collects the ball off the back line. He looks to progress it up the pitch. And, I had nothing to really complain about. You know what I mean? I didn't really have much to complain about in that sense. Like, when it comes to the first half, right, and I know, Beth, you sort of touched on it, a lot of people sort of it's a bit too negative. I think it was very telling to me that we were the same in terms of in possession with Carrick as with Ollie, because with all the attacking talent we have, with all the different sort of players, it was interesting seeing that Carrick went with a different sort of combination up front, right? Because that tells me, right, so in terms of attacking, some of the coaches do probably have different ideas, right? Carrick thinking Martial, Sancho, Donny, that would be the best sort of combination. But in defense, no real different ideas, right? We didn't really have any sort of real strategy in terms of how to get the ball further up the pitch. What I will say, because I haven't seen many people talking about this, if you look at that first half compared to the first half, the first time we played Villarreal, it was much better defensively. I know some people might not want to hear that, but in that first time, they had so many big chances. They had loads of chances inside of our box. They did have a couple chances in that first half, but not many chances inside of our box, especially compared to the other time. So as much as it wasn't brilliant, and again, if it was a permanent manager or if it was under Ollie, there would be complaints, and rightfully so. There was definitely a reaction. Whatever Carrick said or did, it was definitely much better this time round. So that's how I felt.
That line was what organised, and the wingers were actually getting back and helping out.
Yeah, on that point, Levin, I think tied into that, it's obviously a confidence thing as well, isn't it? The last Carrick would have said to him, "Look, given the goals we've conceded over the last couple of games, keep it tight. Don't do anything crazy first half." And at halftime, clearly he's obviously said it's time to push on now and grow into the game. So yeah, I definitely agree. First half, we looked a lot more sound defensively, given who was at the back. That actually surprises me.
That's it. I mean, on that though, Beth, you touched on everyone in position. It didn't look like the wingers wanted to actually go over our halfway lines.
Yeah,
it was disciplined in a way that we're not going to concede anything, detriment to our attacking threat, which was non-existent in the first half. But can you see Carrick actually saying that and going, "Look, guys, let's just," because previous games we've put ourselves under pressure by making individual errors. We've gone behind early. The guys touched on it there in terms of being pretty much nearly out of sight in certain games in the first half, Beth. Let's just cut out our mistakes and just have a first half of nothing, and then we'll work on things and ease our way into a game. Could you see Carrick actually getting that message across? Do you feel like that was the whole talk before the game amongst the staff?
I do think that was what the plan was. I thought the plan was to keep it tight, going at half time, 0-0, possibly if you can nick a goal. But obviously with the way we set up, that was near enough impossible. But I definitely think he went that way. The fullbacks look pretty defensive. The problem for me is when the ball actually got out to the winger and they needed that overlap or they needed someone to come from the middle. Everyone was so defensively in the positions that no one was making that run. No one was making, and there was no pass for them to make. So all we could do is go backwards. And a lot of the time we got dispossessed and then Villarreal would come on to us. If it was a better team, I do think we would have been under it a little bit. David De Gea made some great saves and they did miss some opportunities. We were defensively good, but there was still some times where I really did think, oh God, if that went in, then everything would have fallen apart again. So, I mean, it's not perfect by any stretch, but the plan was, like you said, to keep it tight. And I do think his plan would have been, I think people would have known that Bruno and Rashford were coming on in the second half. And I think that was a big part of his game plan to kind of, if we are at 0-0 and we do think we can push on to get that win, these guys are going to come on and that's what we're going to do. And I do think it did work perfectly. You could tell everybody else on the pitch once they came on, the reason it looked so different is because everyone was playing slightly different as well. The fullbacks had a little bit more, they didn't get fully up the pitch, but they were getting up a lot more. And Sancho, where he was receiving the ball basically on the edge of his own box and had no one to pass to, suddenly he's receiving it more on the edge of the third of our box. So, it's different positions, and we definitely pushed up a lot more and had a lot more confidence in the second half. And realistically, even though it was very, very boring to watch, and I'm not a fan of the first half of football whatsoever, and I do not want to see that in Manchester United, after the last few weeks that we've had, if that's what it takes to get a result and get everyone playing and get everyone focused, then that's what you have to do, because this game was a must-win. It was must-win for us, or we must have got a draw. So when it's an important game like that, sometimes you do have to kind of put the play style aside and just go out and get the result.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, that's it, mate, isn't it, really? It's the way we've been playing. We can't expect it to be gallivanting, superb City-style, Liverpool-style football, creating chances here and everywhere. You've got to earn yourself the right to get back in and play yourself back into winning form, don't you? I mean, tonight was a result-based game. We know that. I think that's going to be the same for quite a few games coming up now, mate, just to get ourselves back on the table again, isn't it?
I think the main word I would say, or that I take from this evening's win, was probably balance. Yeah. When you've seen the team, and I think we debated it on the Sunday, and
definitely.
The intriguing thing about what the team was going to go out was the fact of we were thinking we're going to learn very quickly from the team that Carrick picks, whether it was Solskjaer that was having the final say on everything, or whether sort of Carrick and that had any input into the team. And I think for him to start Donny van der Beek, to play Sancho on the right, to play Martial, to me, it probably tells you that Solskjaer, obviously, and he was the manager at the time, had the final say on team selection. Maybe Carrick was banging the drum and saying to him, listen, you should be playing Sancho on the right this time. And maybe Solskjaer did not want to listen. But the main thing would be favourites that we've always said about Solskjaer. And yes, I know that Fred and McTominay played today, but the main word for me is balance. When I looked at that team today and the way that we set off, and don't get me wrong, we didn't come flying out the traps, but I think the key was that we stayed in the game. And other managers have done this at Manchester United. It might not be great to watch. It's not free-flowing attacking football. That would come with time under a manager that brings that in. But just to watch Manchester, half-time, 0-0, we're still in the game. And some people might think that sounds negative, but the run of results that we've had recently, the bad press, basically what do you call it? The vultures are basically circling, and they were waiting to pounce this evening if Manchester United were to lose that game this evening at worst, and they haven't. They've managed to navigate through it, and they've got.
Jordan, before you go into that, mate, as Jordan froze there.
That's a classic Jordan internet.
Classic
just having
Jordan,
an absolute.
That's a good thumbnail right there, Jordan.
They've done him dirty.
That's his profile picture.
They've done him dirty.
Yeah, all right, Levin, I'm going to move to you, mate.
No, I feel bad, man. We got to get him out of here, man. We got to get him out of here, man.
I tell you what.
No, you can't do that to my guy, man.
To tell you there, mate. Anyway, Levin, one thing that did jump out today, I'm looking at it as a positive, not just digging out the two again, but the midfield, it's quite clear that you have to play Fred and one other, not McTominay and Fred. With Varane to come back into that defence, mate, I think Fred showed today how he can play and what his role can be. Get the ball, just pass it to anyone else within 10 yards, mate, and get back in your position, because that's what he was. He's got the energy. He was involved in both goals today, and we have to give him credit for it, mate. And that's just through him doing nothing special, but doing his job right in terms of that midfield, winning the ball back, Levin. I'll bring Jordan in on that one after it. He's having a kick on now. But on that, Levin, mate, they're out ways forward, aren't they, mate?
You know what, yeah? I mentioned it in my fan vlog, so if you've watched that, apologies, I'm going to repeat myself here. But when people talk about Fred for Brazil, I always see a lot of people, including myself at times, where it's like, well, that's international football, it's a much lower level. But that's not the important part of when people comparing Fred with Brazil versus United. That's not the important part. It's not about the level. It's about his role in that Brazilian team, right? When you watch the Brazilian team, a lot of the time, he's literally, all his job is to just sit in the half space behind Neymar and just do all the defending in that area, innit? Because Neymar's not doing any of it. And so when I saw, that he was sort of sitting in that same sort of left half space area, I was like, maybe we're going to see a good performance out of Fred, right? And it wasn't always perfect, right? We know. That's why I sometimes get frustrated when I see people complain about certain players, because we know Fred's limitations as a player. So when you see certain things happen, you shouldn't be surprised. That's who he is. But in certain moments in that game, right, he did exactly what we know he can do well in terms of breaking up play, being aggressive, and to some extent that's all we can ask of him as a player now, right? We know his form was rock bottom for a lot of this season. But if we can get more performances of that ilk, we're going to be much better off moving forward. So I was impressed by Fred. Of course, very influential in that Ronaldo goal. Props to Fred. I hope people understand that, the Fred we saw a lot of earlier in the season isn't, him with a full stop at the end. That's not him, right? He can be better than that, and he showed that in this game.
Yeah, guys saying standards again in the comments there regarding Fred. Look, there's no transfers. We're dealing with what we've got, guys. So we're trying to find a way through for the next manager coming in. Jordan, on that midfield, mate, today, I said it then. Levin said he's brought it up in his fan vlog as well. Guys, don't forget, do drop down into the channel and watch the fan vlogs as well and get our own in-depth look on things. This group session now, Jordan, is to see if we all come together on the same thinking. And Fred today, I thought, played well for Fred, like we said. But right now, with the new manager coming in, whenever that's going to be, hopefully soon, they have to see it. And I think it's quite obvious from tonight, for me, Jordan, that Fred, either with, say, Adone, not with McTominay, it's just not quality enough, like Beth said, on the ball for our midfield to transition in play. If you had Fred doing what he did today with Adone next to him, I think it works a lot better, mate.
Fred.
That's why we're waiting for you. That's why we're waiting for you, Jordan, mate. That's it.
Do you know what? Like I said,
don't even go back on what you've said before, Jordan.
No,
don't even do it.
I'm not going to hammer him just for the sake of hammering. In terms of Fred's standard today, he played well. In terms of Fred's standard, I agree with Levin. In moments, in chasing down the ball and doing what he does, good. In terms of us progressing as a team and moving forward, we just know he's just not good enough. We're not going to win trophies if we're relying on him to start 80, 90% of our games. I think in the role that he played today, definitely better. One of the first things any new manager comes in, and as soon as a transfer window opens and they get given money, that is the area that he needs to look at. I do believe this, if Ollie had signed a good CDM, he'd probably still be in a job. With all the other decisions he's made, that is the area of the team I feel that has let him down. Going into a game against Chelsea, a team with any kind of decent midfield, but looking at the weekend, we're always going to get dominated, guys. I just feel like he's got a ceiling, and we continually see that ceiling, and it really doesn't help by playing McTominay again besides him. It's just going to let any manager down, whoever that manager is. We're always going to get found out in the middle of the park.
Jordan, though, you're referencing Fred, though, in reference to that CDM role. And I don't disagree. We needed a CDM and we still need a CDM.
Yeah.
But that's not the role Fred was playing in this game, though.
No.
But that's not. But that complaint you're making, I think it's a valid one, because there were so many times where you just think to yourself, a good CDM in this game would be great. That's not what Fred was doing this game. That was more McTominay. So what you're saying to me feels like it applies more to McTominay than it does to Fred in this context, at least.
Agreed, but the role I was asked is if he was to play a Van de Beek alongside him, you would expect Fred to be the one that sits back a bit more than to allow Van de Beek to be creative. So that's why I'm making that point. For me, as a combination, they're a write-off.
Yeah, that exactly, mate. I don't think anyone thinks that the way forward with any manager, as good as a coach he is Fred and McTominay. It's not. Can
I ask you a question on the two of them? Just something that came up in one of my WhatsApp groups. With a new manager coming in, which one of the two has more of a chance of playing?
Fred for me.
On current form, for me, it has to be Fred, because McTominay's passing is atrocious, in my opinion. I think he tries to be something that Ole has made him think he is, but he's not that type of midfielder. And I think he's just been told he's some player that he's not. Until he gets back to basics, I don't think McTominay will get ahead of Fred. And I can't believe him saying it, but I think he just thinks he's a different type of midfielder than what we see him as. And that's what I think of Scott McTominay. I think he's limited. I think he's got qualities, but it's going to take the coach to realise where he's at right now and convince him of the position that really suits his game and his capabilities. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, it's definitely Fred.
I've seen McTominay play very good games, but it's in the past, and they've only been occasional games. I think McTominay, when he has a great game, is better than Fred. But Fred altogether as a footballer, and in the way we play and what I've seen of him, and knowing what he's good at and his attributes, which is kind of pressing, getting in amongst players, kind of pressurising them off the ball, trying to get his foot in, have that energy. I just think Fred has more of a role in what he's good at. McTominay is not good at passing, average defensively. Getting forward, he's got a good shot, but that never happens. So you never really see his strengths. His strength only for me, really, at the moment, is his height, which isn't really getting used that much because, I don't know, I've just not seen anything from McTominay over the last God knows how long that I can think, wow, you have a chance in this team, but somehow he gets picked every week whenever he's available and plays 90 minutes. I can't get my head around it, and I'm not just going in on McTominay because them as a combination aren't good, but I'm not going in on him personally. It's just in general, when you're playing for Manchester United, you've got to have a great midfield, and they're just not great at all.
I mean, one thing we have got, I was just going to bring you on this one, Kev. One thing we have got is a great forward, 6 goals in 5 in the Champions League, Kev. Where would this team be without Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo, mate? I can't go through the show without mentioning the phenom. Sorry. That was a tongue twister for me. The phenomenal player that this man is. I'm lost for words at how he does this and his record in the Champions League. Me and Beth did a sketch before the Champions League started up again, and we was talking about Ronaldo and his return to the Champions League, and the words were, it was fate that he was going to come back and do this for Manchester United. He's literally carried the team on important moments, and again, when the chips are down, mate, he's there again, Kev. I just want to quickly chat for 5 minutes about him and the influence, and give him some credit, because he won't always be in the games, but when he counts and when it matters, there's no one better in the world.
Well, you asked the question, where would we be without him? We would be playing some Scandinavian team in the Europa League on a Thursday evening. That's where we would be, because if you take the goals out that he's scored in this Champions League campaign, he's literally carried us through this. And yet people still will go, into the media and say his legs are gone, he's this, that. And for me, you just play to his strengths. I mean, the header in the first half that the keeper saved?
Yeah.
I know it was at the keeper, but the hang time that he gets is absolutely unbelievable. He's like prime Michael Jordan, the hang time he gets. And you're like, how is that even possible? And you've seen him score goals. Was it the one against Roma years ago where he sort of just hung in the air? And he's unbelievable. I think we were on the show when Ronaldo actually signed. And again, we didn't want to get bogged down with the sentiment, the tugging at the heartstrings, similar to a Solskjaer kind of thing at Manchester United. But it is different with Ronaldo. And although he is coming to the end of his career, if we could get 2 seasons out of him, again, if you play to his strengths, he will score goals. He's in and around. He's redeveloped his game a bit like, to an extent, and I'm not comparing them as players, Ryan Giggs had to do this. He went from being a flying winger on the left, started playing in midfield, then the sort of number 10 role. And once the legs start going slightly, and Ronaldo is still quick, compared to a lot of players. And the Premier League is a massive test for him. And I always say, he's not come to Manchester United to mess about. This is not a retirement home for him. I've seen enough from him in certain games to suggest that he's captain material at Manchester United. For me, I would give him the armband. If a new manager is coming in, I'd have no problems taking it off Harry Maguire. I would say, this is new regime. I'm the manager. I want to pick my captain, and that's who it would be. Because either him or Bruno, but I think Ronaldo's just got the edge. I think there's a lot of younger players coming through, the likes of Greenwood, obviously Rashford, you've got, and that look up to Ronaldo. And I think just as a figure, he's the man you want to lead your club. He's the man you want walking out and leading that team.
Yeah, I mean, Levin, mate, we need to be in the Champions League, I think, for us to see him next season, mate. I mean, new manager coming in, he's obviously going to have to try and get a game plan around Ronaldo, because he is that important. Again, though, just talk to me about the importance of him, especially in this Champions League, Levin, because like Kev said there, every single chance that comes, he's there, and he's there when it matters. He looks after himself through the game. He hardly ever gets injuries, mate. At this age, to be that sharp and get no injuries, it's absolutely immense. And I did think against Everton, we played all right in the first half without him, but he does have that undroppable feel about him, don't he? You just cannot leave him out.
Yeah, because there's not really anybody else in the football that is just as inevitable as him. There are certain players that come around where when they're on the pitch, at any given moment, they have the ability to provide just that moment. And he is almost the pinnacle of that. It's funny, I had a guy on Twitter who, was messaging me. He was quite frustrated. He was like, I'm getting tired of Ronaldo, throwing himself around on the pitch today. Because there were a couple of times where he was trying to bait fouls and stuff. And I had a guy who was like, it's getting on my nerves. And it was 2 minutes after he scored his goal. And the guy just goes, I should have seen that coming, shouldn't I? And it's just that's what he does, He whether he frustrates you, whether you feel like he's not on the pitch, whatever you have to say, whether he affects the structure of the team because we can't do this, regardless of whatever criticism or complaint you have, he will do his side of the job. And that is score goals. And that's invaluable, especially moving forward, especially for you know, whoever comes in, whether it's the interim or the interim to interim or the interim or the manager, whoever it is now, you know, having that asset is so key, especially getting through, because I've said this before, I'm of the belief whoever comes in, it's going to be hard. Like, this team needs to learn certain basics about football. And so some of these managers who have these specific ideas, to get that through is going to take a while. So if you're not really going to be able to play how you want to play at first, having a Ronaldo to get you results, to buy you time, is just so key. So yeah, he's important, man. But we know this. It's just Ronaldo, Mr. Champions League.
This is it. Bargain, Jordan, mate. Bargain, mate. I mean, what did you think of the Martial-Ronaldo combination? I mean, they were up against it, I think, because of the way we were set up, but we've seen a few different combinations tonight, mate, from Carrick. We're switching sides quite a lot with the wingers as well, and that, obviously, I see Ronaldo dropping out. We went into a 2 up top. I mean, it's a lot of work for the next manager to work with, mate. A lot of players for the next manager to work with, but it's not going to be easy, is it, mate?
No, it really isn't going to be easy. I think Levin's right. Whoever comes in, it's going to be a tough job, and this is why I think it needs somebody with experience and has worked with egos and can keep players happy, because there are going to be players that are just not going to play. We're carrying so many bodies in that squad.
But not my guy, Jordan. He's back.
Hold on.
Yeah. We can hear you.
Carry on, mate. Carry on.
Yeah, Tony. He just frustrates me. I just need more from him. Like, I don't know if it's just we've come to a point now where we just have to say, look, it isn't going to work, and for him to be happy and play his better football, he needs to try somewhere else. I know it's a lonely job sometimes up there. I like the changing of the wings. I've said this before. Like, some of the better days I remember as a Man United fan was when, you know, the wingers would swap sides and try against different fullbacks, and that interchanging. I love that. But his whole demeanor and body language just suggests to somebody that he acts like the world. It's just not enough for me. Like, I'm sorry. I know it splits opinion, but I just need a bit more from him.
Yeah, I mean, Beth, moving forward, we have got a lot of options up front there. Champions League secured now. Would you bring a manager in after the Chelsea game, would say? And it is a good platform for the next manager to start from now. That Champions League's out the way. 26 games left of the Premier League season now, Beth. And there's time to really salvage something from this, because no Champions League or FA Cup. It is all Premier League now, all the way through. I think it's imperative, I said, that a manager comes in and they get this organised and sorted as quick as possible. Would you try and get someone in this week now, or drop him in at the deep end against Chelsea? I'll wait till after.
I agree with you that we need someone to come in. I think we need a permanent manager personally. Like, whoever we want, I would like us to go and get nowish. After the Chelsea game would probably be more realistic, because obviously bringing him in now and dropping him in for that game would be a little bit harsh, not really having much time to work with the players by the time they get here. And Carrick, to be fair, he did a decent job today, and Chelsea's always going to be a tough game for anyone, and to let him take control of that one and then bring someone in after that would be the perfect scenario for me. As I said in my match vlog as well, I don't really want to repeat myself that much, but this team desperately needs someone to come in and put their stamp on it and teach them the basics, like Levin said, and really, really kind of get them playing football, because the ability is there. The ability is definitely there. And I think what they really are lacking is a lot of coaching, elite coaching, and someone that's just going to really kind of put a style on this team and get them playing, because I don't think anyone really knows what they're doing. They're just kind of going game by game now. And we saw that today. They just wanted to get the result, and there was so much pressure on them. And like you said, with all the attacking players we've got, and the defence, I mean, I might be wrong, but I do think that if a new manager comes in, someone kind of with a bit of pedigree, I don't think you will see the combination of McTominay and Fred in midfield. That's just my personal opinion. And I think you will see different patterns up front, because we've got a lot of different players that can play different roles depending on the game. We really have. But for me, it's imperative that we get someone in. Even personally, I've said I kind of want a permanent manager because I want to know the direction. But even if it's an interim, we need someone who's going to really come in and kind of get this team playing, teach them the basics and salvage the season, because they can salvage the season right now. Champions League. I mean, I'd like to go far in that competition. At the moment, I don't see it happening, but you never know what a good coach can come in and do. And even in the league, like you said with Ronaldo, I still think we can get top 4 if a good coach comes in and we start playing with the players we've got. So it really, a lot is down to this appointment and what's going to happen. Whether it's an interim or a permanent manager, we just need to set a plan. You need to let the fans know, let the players know, so we're no longer in limbo. And we need someone to come in and really start kind of getting these players playing and get them well drilled. Carrick, McKenna, Phelan, when that happens, I would hope that they would kind of just for their own pride leave on the back of that for me, because I feel like their time here is done. Thank you for taking over and kind of leading the team while we've not got anybody, but it's time for a shift. And I think that's what needs to happen. It needs to be completely fresh in there, new ideas, more coaching, and with the squad we've got, the season is definitely salvageable if you act quickly.
26 games.
Yeah. Exactly. And there's still hope with getting Champions League football and going far in the Champions League. Like, obviously people say I'm stupid, but Chelsea last year, they didn't look like a good team, and then they came in and they ended up winning the Champions League. I'm not saying we're going to win the Champions League, but it'd give the players a lot of confidence to go further in that competition.
Yeah, I mean, Kev, mate, talk to me about Poch. Is the word at the moment. That's the one that's looking like it is a possibility. Where are you at with Pochettino coming in mid-season, mate? Would that be the right sort of call for you? We'll get into this before we finish the show now. Champions League's in the bag. He's got a decent starting platform there to work from, and we've seen what he can do. We've seen he can improve a lot of players. We've got players that I think have got even more potential than what they're showing right now. It's my opinion.
Yeah,
I think Poch. How do you see Poch, mate? Would you be happy with Poch, Kev?
He's not a name. I know we were on the show Sunday night. I don't even think we brought up Pochettino.
No, we didn't, mate. It was weird, wasn't it? No.
Yeah, we were more or less going along the lines of Ten Hag, Zidane, the main ones that had come out. So this one has come out the blue. I personally do think this will happen. And I think it's going to happen very, very quickly. I could see Zidane going to PSG and Manchester United will get Pochettino. I've had time to think about it today, and I wouldn't be... I'd be happy with it. I think I would be happy with it. Although it's not personally my first choice, it's something I would get behind. I can see... I know there's some United fans that are saying Sir Alex Ferguson shouldn't be anything to do with this. And we know that when he was at Tottenham, he was pictured out with Sir Alex Ferguson. And we know that Sir Alex Ferguson got David Moyes in and he was behind sort of Solskjaer getting the job. And there's people that don't like that. They want it to be Manchester United that make the decision. I think Pochettino would be a brilliant fit for Manchester United. And I totally get anyone that wants to argue with me and say he's not won anything, or from a perspective in the Premier League, he took Tottenham to a Champions League final. Yes, they got beat. But the key for me, Adam, is, as you said it, he makes players better. And I think that's something we've really, really missed out on at Manchester United. And that's the worry over the last 3 years. I'm starting to worry now and think, God, we should be 3 years further on. And we've fallen so far behind. I've heard stories this week, whether they're true or not, that Ronaldo said the expectations and the standards at United has really worried him. There's players turning up for training. I think it's almost been classed as like a holiday camp. Players are turning up late, but nobody gets fined. It's almost like, go on, put them cones out. And then David De Gea, after the Watford, defeat, says, we didn't know what to do with the ball at the back. And I'm thinking, what have you been doing for the last 3 years? How has it took 3 years to get to this point? Whether the players down tools or whatever at Watford at the weekend on Saturday to come to this point. 3 years is a long time in football. And Pochettino, I do think, could turn things round, but it's not going to happen instantly. And that's my worry, is how far have we slipped behind here? Because you now need to if you get Pochettino in, you're certainly going to play high intensity, pressing football. But it's not an easy thing to do. Jurgen Klopp went in at Liverpool. There was a stage when Liverpool fans were calling for his head.
This is it.
They've seen it out, and the rest is history, isn't it? So you certainly have to have patience with it if you are behind it, and just and go into it. But he's certainly an upgrade on what we've been used to under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah. I mean, Levin, if it is Poch, it is permanent and it is long term. We know this. He will be given more time, I think, here than he has anywhere else. We know that for definite. We've not spoke to you regarding the managerial situation at the moment, Levin. Would you be happy with Poch coming in now? Like Kev said there, he's got a team here that doesn't know how to press. Poch likes to press. Would he be able to transfer that into a position, like Beth said, where we can salvage something this season? Or is it going to be a case of it may take into next season before this group of players especially start to get his ideas? Is that a worry for you, or do you think Poch can turn it around mid-season? Would you take him mid-season, mate?
Yeah. I'm not against a lot of the people we've been linked to. I'm not really against any. I think there's a lot of pros and cons to anyone you can suggest.
Of course.
There's only been a couple that I think, please know, the Steve Bruces of the worlds and whatnot. But it's not a concern for me. What you said, I think, is true. I think there's a good chance that certain players, it wouldn't work. You wouldn't be able to play exactly how you want to play, and that takes time. And by no means is Poch like a win now manager the way people see maybe like a Conte or Zidane is like a win now manager. And so yeah, it would take time. For me, that's not a problem personally, like, because I'm understanding of that process. I'm cool, but I know I fear it will turn into a toxic situation where you'd get a lot of people in the fan base who aren't okay with that. There's a lot of people already who don't want Poch whatsoever, and so if Poch was to come in, you'd instantly have Poch outers, and I don't want that. Like, I'm tired of all that, right? So that's where I have a concern in terms of whether people would embrace him. A part of me wants to believe there is good in people, and people would give him that chance and be understanding of how sort of how our squad has a lot of talent, but it's not talent that has been constructed to play in a certain way and go in a certain direction. And so in that sense, it's a messy squad. And I think any manager would have a problem with that, except for maybe like a Conte or a Zidane maybe. But yeah, I don't have a problem. I think whether it's Poch, Ten Hag, Rodgers, or whoever it is, I think I personally would be cool. I'd get behind them. I'd give them a chance. That's where I'm at right now.
Jordan, do you think Poch would bring together the United fan base? Do you think it would be a majority United fan base behind that move? Where are you at with Pochettino, mate? Would you be happy with him coming in?
Yeah, I agree
Jordan.
with Evan. I feel like with all of the names that we mentioned, have I gone? Hello?
No, you're in, mate. Carry on, mate. Carry on.
I'm back.
Yes.
I feel like with all the names that we've mentioned at the moment, there seems to be a divide already before any of them have even come in, and we don't want to start off with a level of toxicity.
I mean, Carrick out was trending at half time, mate. So don't listen to Twitter, man.
With everything that we've been through, we kind of want everyone to get behind the manager and give him a chance. I think when we went out of the Champions League last season, and there was links to Poch, I was really happy with the thought of Poch coming in then. And I have to ask myself, what's changed between then and now? He went to PSG. They didn't win the league. He won the French Cup. He's now 11 points clear. They're going to walk the league this season. You look at the job he did at Southampton and the job he did at Spurs. People say that he hasn't won anything. Well, you've got to question at what is a win in certain clubs. And what are you at Spurs and at Southampton? For me, you look at that and that's a win, because those clubs have not been the same since. Spurs have been for X number of managers trying to chase what they had with Poch. Speak to a lot of Spurs fans, and after that Champions League final, he wasn't given the money because the money was being put into the stadium, so he had to work with what he had. And it just naturally, after a number of years, I feel like with any manager, you've been there for a certain amount of time. The first Sir Alex's of 20 years staying in the same job, it just doesn't happen. There's a natural burnout. If we could bring someone like Poch in and get a good 3-4 years out of him and we pick up trophies, then I'd be happy with that. Us trying to chase 8, 10, 12 years, it just doesn't happen in this age. He buys well from the lower leagues. I think of Dele Alli picked up from MK Dons, Ben Davies he picked up from Swansea when they went in the Championship and whatnot. He buys well, and that's again something that we could do with. We seem to overpay for players and try and go for ready-made players rather than buy players and develop them. he knows the league. Again, he's got a clear vision on how he plays football. He's got a bite about him. I've seen him on the touchline where he will go up against other managers, something that we haven't had over the last couple of years. For me, yeah, I would be really happy with Poch.
That's good. I mean, one thing everyone knows, Beth, at PSG, yeah, he is walking it. There is unrest there with Leonardo pulling the strings, though. No manager is in charge at PSG. I do feel, and I think where everyone is getting sort of hyped a bit with Poch for United is he would get what he wants to do what he wants, I think, at United more than any other club. I think United would give him time. I think United would put him in charge of the signings that he wants. United would actually get behind Poch. And I think that's where everyone's going with it and sort of getting excited by the prospect of the right man playing the right style of football, developing youth players. It sort of fits a United mould if there ever was one. It's not been lost, the old United way conversation, I know. But I think Poch, fits that sort of bill more than anyone else that's being mentioned. Obviously, Ten Hag, but we can't get in mid-season. And we all know, and we're all talking now about a manager that can come in right now. I think Poch probably suits Manchester United more than anyone else out there right now, does he not?
Right now, yeah. If we got Pochettino, I would not be disappointed. I think he's a good manager and I think he'd come in and I think he'd do a good job. I'm not going to lie, he's not my first choice. And I've not been overly excited about him when he's been linked to us in the past. What I can't get over is and I take on board everything Jordan says 100%. I do think he's a good manager. I do think he'd develop the squad massively. I think he'd bring youth through. I think he'd make good signings, and that's so much more than what we've been used to. Like, genuinely, you would see a massive difference when he comes in. The only thing about Pochettino, why he's not really been up there for me, is my first choice is he hasn't won anything really, and he's had opportunities to do that and he's missed out. It's like when he was managing Spurs, he should have won the league when Leicester won the league. He fell at the final hurdle, and in the Champions League as well. I mean, I know it was. I don't expect him to win the Champions League with that Spurs team, and he did well to get there. He did very well to get there, but you can't hide away from the fact he did have quite a nice run to that final. He did, but I'm not taking that away from him. I think he's a good manager, and I think he worked very well at Spurs, and I don't think Spurs should have sacked him when they did. I think they should have stuck by him. And at PSG, he's not pulling up trees at PSG. That league is quite an easy league to go and win, and I think there has been certain games in that league where I've been watching, or I've seen the highlights, and I thought they don't play amazingly considering the squad that they've got, and that's one thing that kind of made me question about it. A lot of games have been very, very tight games with the squad that we've got. I don't know if it's because them players only can get excited for the Champions League now because of the egos that they have. They know that they're going to walk that league, and the Champions League is what they need to win. I think if Poch would win the Champions League with PSG this year, I think that would be a big statement, a big, big statement. But the one thing I do really, really like about him is the fact that if the rumours are true that he's willing to walk from PSG now and come to United, that's a big plus for me. You want a manager that wants to beat United, wants to take on that challenge, and thinks he can do stuff with that squad, and wants to take that squad for the next level. He's ambitious, wants to go and do stuff in the Premier League, thinks he can do that. And for me, that's a massive tick. So would he be my first choice? He wouldn't, but I do think he'd do a good job, and I would be happy with the appointment, especially if he came in now, because like you said, Adam, we need someone now, in my opinion.
Just on that.
Go on, mate.
They are 11 points clear in the French league.
I know they are.
I looked at Tuchel when he was there, and I honestly wrote it off. I do a job at PSG. Like the pressure of managing that club and those signings, and I think they just have such a disproportionate squad where they just keep signing these world beaters going forward. Like he really is in control of it. He's in control of it. And I think him coming to Man United, where you're right, he is going to have more control. He will be able to influence the signings a bit more and have a bit more of a balanced squad. I do feel we'll see the better out of him. I think something that gets thrown at Rodgers and at Poch about Leicester and about Spurs is that those squads are not built for the amount of games of challenging in the league and then challenging in the Champions League. So they naturally run out of legs. You look at the amount of players that we've got in our squad, and as long as a manager uses that squad to its fullest, we shouldn't really run out of legs across the whole season.
I felt we had a discussion a bit ago on the show about who you'd rather have, Rodgers or Pochettino, and I think it was quite. Was it balanced discussion about what would happen? I feel like they are in this similar types of brackets at the moment, just because of obviously like it does you have to look at trophy record, and both of them don't really have that many. I mean, Rodgers has got more actually.
Can I just
on,
defend
Kev.
myself very quickly? Sorry, there's a few people in the chat saying to me, but Kev, Pochettino's happy at PSG. I am fully aware that you've read the same thing. He's been in the press conference today. Obviously, he's in Manchester because he play Man City tomorrow. And what else would you expect him to say on the eve of a big game? He's still the PSG manager. He has come out and said he's happy. He's got a contract to 2023. That's nothing that we don't know. The other game changer for it is managing back in England. His wife and children still live over here. They've never followed him over to Paris. Apparently, as much as he
are
played
in
there,
London.
From what I've heard, he's not. Obviously, if you're not happy and your family's not happy, you know, it doesn't make any difference whether he used to play for PSG, he loves the fans of the club or whatever. If you're not happy, you'd want to be with your family, wouldn't you? So I think it makes sense. From what I was listening to today, it almost sounds like this is something that he's now going to have to push for. And if he does it, then Zidane's waiting there for PSG. It could be, you know, the merry-go-round and everybody's happy.
It could be the ultimate one. It could be the big setup, couldn't it? Sorry, Beth, go on.
So do you think United will buy him out? Because I think we have to pay 10 million, don't we?
Yeah.
I do think he would come to us, and that for me is massive, because to walk away from PSG where you could win the Champions League and come to us, I think it's real commitment to the club, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Levin, would you? It's sort of like Beth makes a very good point there, because for someone to leave in the position that he's in, having been obviously criticised for not winning trophies, he's got a league title in the bag pretty much right now. There's no one getting near him. He's all right in the Champions League, mate. He's in a very strong position with Champions League winning players. If he came now, it is a good point that Beth makes, Levin. It's like, that really is a massive plus point, because to leave that behind to come to United shows I want to be at United. I feel like this is the best place for me to prove what I am worth, even with all that still going on at his current club.
Yeah, and at the same time, I think context is always important, because I think what a lot of people don't realize is that situation from the outside, and especially if you're comparing it to our situation at United, looks great, but that's not necessarily always the case, right? Like, you know, there's a lot of internal politics that goes on at PSG, which means, yeah, he's top of the league, clear or whatever, but doesn't mean fans are happy. Doesn't mean Leonardo and the people above him are happy. And there have been some reports and whatnot to suggest that that is the case. Like, as much as, yeah, things look good, people aren't happy. Like, there's been I've seen a lot of PSG people go in, you know, that they're very close to getting Zidane, which is interesting, right? Which is like, if things are so good, why are you so obsessed with getting Zidane in, that kind of thing? So, look, it does seem like he has a great admiration for the club, and I think something that's important is he seems to get it. And I'm not talking about the whole like United DNA, you have to have played for Fergie kind of thing or whatever, but yeah, one thing that people don't acknowledge sometimes is, yeah, Fergie didn't come from United in any way, but when he came, he instantly like understood it, like he had a great appreciation for it, right? You know, looking back at what Matt Busby had done, whatever. And Poch is almost similar, where, yeah, he's not technically associated to United in any way, but you can tell already that he'd come in, he'd get it, right? Like he would be, you know, very sort of enthusiastic about the club. And I think that would do him a world of favor as well moving forward. I think people are being very unfair, because, look, Zidane's not an option for us. Everything, all reports suggest Zidane is not an option. And outside of that, we don't have many options. Like people, I think people, you know, like beggars can't be choosers. You know what I mean? And I know people are going, yeah, but the standards, but these aren't even like Poch isn't a bad manager. I feel like people get the wrong rap about it. Maybe it's just because of the way things ended at Spurs. But even Spurs fans will tell you, some Spurs fans will say, we probably shouldn't have sacked him. You know, like we probably should have stuck him. We would have been better off.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
So a lot of Spurs fans say that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I see, like, I'm just reading chat, like, I'm seeing people going, what, Poch? No, impossible. And it's like, okay, then I just want to know, I guess, maybe, like, who do these people want that is out there that I'm forgetting about? Maybe, like, I don't seem to get it.
It's like you said, there's always going to be people that are going to disagree with whoever comes in now. It's just the way that these United fans are molded now. It's like, no, don't like him, he's not right. Well, you know what? We give every manager a chance like we have with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. You're going to find out quite quickly. Do you know what I mean? I think if you
I
give
bet as
Poch,
well, Adam. Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
Sorry, Kev. I'll bring this to you, mate. Now, do you think if Poch had 3 years and over 100 million a summer to spend, with the youth setup that we've got coming through right now, which is very good. Again, they beat Villarreal as well in their Champions League tonight, away from home, coming from behind in the second half. Do you think Poch would have done better than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? I think it's inevitable, isn't it, mate?
I think so. And that's the thing why I look back. And I understand that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, after Mourinho steadied the ship, as they say, a bit of a feel-good atmosphere back at Manchester United. But the more I think about it, and I think it's kind of 3 years, it's kind of fizzled away, and we're still kind of no better off because we've got no identity. I've said that before. I really don't know what we are anymore. Are we a counter-attacking team? Do we press? No, we don't do that. Are we defensive? No, because we can't defend. We're absolutely shit at defending. It's like, what kind of a team are we? But I do firmly believe that under a manager like Pochettino, you would have an identity, and it will take time, but there'll come a stage where we're like, all I want to see is a pattern of play. When you go to Old Trafford or whatever, it's something that you see and you go, yeah, I can buy into that. Even if we're losing goal 1-0, 2-0 every week or whatever, as long as I could see something that I can buy into and I know that it's going to work out, I'd be quite happy with that. And as for the people that are slagging Pochettino, I'm not just sticking up for him because he's been linked with the job, but I guarantee you that I bet if Guardiola stepped down as Man City manager, he'd be on the shortlist. Manchester City or a club like that would definitely consider Pochettino.
And the thing is, Kev, it's like I'm not even trying to be, because I like, personally, because I'm seeing a lot of people saying Ten Hag, right? I like Ten Hag. I like Ten Hag more than I like Poch, if I'm being honest. But like, I feel like with Poch, people are very quick to mention like his deficiencies or what's potentially wrong with him, and I don't see it with anybody. Like, I get Ten Hag is a really good manager. He's not perfect by any means. Like, if you look at Ten Hag, one, a lot of people would say, "Oh, well, Poch, can he handle the dressing room?" What dressing rooms has Ten Hag handled that would suggest he can handle our dressing room, the egos in our dressing room? When you actually talk to people who like really follow Ajax, when he came into the Ajax job, there were concerns he wouldn't even be able to handle their dressing room at Ajax, right? Obviously, he's proved people wrong in that sense, right? But that's something to be concerned about. Like, you know, no manager is perfect. I think people need to understand this. Nobody that we get linked to will be perfect. People will have their plus sides, they'll have their downsides. But genuinely, with what we've struggled to have in the past years with Oli, just, it's not, the bar doesn't need to, we don't need to be setting the bar at somebody who is in the conversation with Pep, Tuchel, whatever. That doesn't exist. But we need somebody who at least their ceiling could be there somewhere, right? And with Ten Hag, you can make that case. With Poch, you can still make that case. I know he didn't win the Champions League with Tottenham or whatever, but that I feel like people need to, take off their tinted lenses or whatever the phrase or terminology is. You know what I mean? Like, people, I feel like are being a bit too unrealistic.
Yeah, I mean, 3-4-3, Jordan, press. Have United got the players to work with Pochettino now? Does he really have to go out and buy much? Has he already got what he needs tool-wise?
No, I think every manager comes in with a fresh pair of eyes and has a look at it and will want to add and change things and hopefully move.
Well, right now then, Jordan, if he did come in mid-season, has he got enough right now to work his sort of system in with what we have there before the summer?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we were all sat here at the beginning of the summer saying, Ollie should be challenging for the title. So why should that change for any other manager coming in? I think, there is enough there to get by. I think that he gets thrown Poch for not winning that one final, the Champions League. But how many finals did Ollie bottle and people still backed him? Like, you've got to give Levin's right. There was no Tuchel before Tuchel won the Champions League at Chelsea. We all looked at him and were like, he's not world class. He's not in that Pep and Klopp bracket. He's gone there with better players, had a bit more freedom to make changes, and he won the Champions League in a season. So you're right, there isn't a finished article out there and available, and the fan base is split. And like I said, we said earlier, just really hope whoever we do bring in, we all get behind him and give him the best chance to succeed. But unfortunately, it already looks at the moment, the main names that are being thrown out there, we can't, not everyone's agreeing on. We're not all agreeing on them in our WhatsApp group.
Yeah, again, with people in the comments, yes, he does play that formation. He adapts it. If you actually watch it, he does adapt it. That's what these managers do. We've just not seen it for so long that everyone looks at one formation. That's how it stays. You've got to be able to adapt to shape. I mean, it is going to be. I haven't got much hope, and seeing the way Chelsea are playing tonight, it does look like a sort of dare I say it, dead game for us.
I've had it up on the screen here. People were like, "Why does this guy keep looking to the right?" So I'm just peeking at the Chelsea game, seeing what they're doing.
3-0 still, Chelsea, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
They are in seriously good form, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, you never know at weekends. I mean, is there a team that you would play Beth for handling Chelsea? Does it really matter? I mean, would you like to see more of the same tonight going forward? Sort of like result-based sort of setup and just get through and get by and stay in the game tactics? If we went at Chelsea, they'd probably rip us a new one, wouldn't they? Surely.
They would, but I still wouldn't play the way we set up tonight. And people might call me naive to that, but it's just not my style, and it's just not what I want to see. I do think with Chelsea, you've got to be defensively solid. And Carrick really has to be working on that throughout the week. But you can do that whilst playing a team that has the ability to go forward as well. I do think you can find that balance, especially within our team. I wouldn't play McTominay and Fred. I would play Van der Beek in the pivot with one of them two, or possibly Matic, actually, because he's had a game off, and I think Matic could work really well there. With Bruno in that cam role, I would definitely play that way. I think Sancho has to start. Rashford on the left for me, I think he was a lot more exciting when he came on than Martial was. And I think if you tell him to get back, then that's not a problem. The wingers have to get back, and the fullbacks have to have cover, because we know what their fullbacks are like. They basically play as wingers, and that could be really, really testing for our back four if we do play a back four, which I'm guessing we will do. And I just think defensively, you've really got to be solid in that game to get some out of it. I do think it will go with the same tack, whereas kind of wait till half time and then probably give yourself a chance to go forward. And I would consider taking that approach, but I would play it with a little bit with a team that has the ability to get forward more. And I'd want my team to take chances if they did get that opportunity, because you are going to get an opportunity. At the end of the day, yes, we've been in extremely poor form. And yes, we're not a great team at the minute, but we do have great players. And on a day, anything can happen. And I do think that players should not be going into that game scared, worried, or just hoping to get a draw. I think they should go into that game with some confidence and go out there and play their football, keep it tight, keep it defensive. Everyone be well drilled, get back, cover spaces, work your absolute socks off and run the whole game, run more than you've ran before, 1,000,000%. I expect all of that from the United team. But if they're well drilled and set up properly on the day, I mean, I'm not expecting to work miracles in a few days. I do think there's a chance you can get a result. There always is a chance, but it's going to be an extremely, extremely tough game. I don't want to see us do what we did in the first half today, though, and literally not even be able to pass out from the back, because that's just embarrassing. I want to go there, take chances when you get your chances, and hopefully get a result. But I'm not too hopeful just because of the form that we've been in.
Anyway, that is Sunday. It's a whole week away. We may have a manager in place by then. We may not. But I just want to finish the show and bring it back tonight. I've been waiting to do this because I've not done it because we've been that shit. I want to get a man of the match. You know what I mean? I want a man of the match. I'm going to go around. Kev, I'm starting you off. The pressure's on, mate. We've not done this for about, how long's the season been going on? About 3 months or so, mate. Because the football's been that dire. I've just avoided it. Yeah. But for you, mate, who's done it tonight for you, mate? Under the pressure of Champions League night, interim manager in Carrick, someone had to stand up. Who was your man, mate?
De Gea was close, but I think for his first goal for United, an all-round play, actually looking a bit excited about seeing what we spent on this money, playing him in the right position, and Jadon Sancho for me this evening.
Sancho. I think that's a fair shout. Levin, mate, who's your man tonight?
It's Jadon Sancho. What can I say? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. Honestly, I couldn't stop smiling when he scored. Like, and I almost felt back. I'm like, should I be this happy? But like, I was buzzing for him, man. And he was, and it wasn't even overhyped. Like, he was brilliant today. He genuinely was.
Yeah, he just did everything right, didn't it? I mean, it is going to be United stands man of the match off the balance of averages here. So one more vote for Sancho will clinch it for him. Jordan, is he getting it for you, or are you throwing a spanner in?
Man like Sancho. Listen, I was absolutely
done.
buzzing for him. I was buzzing for him. Yeah, and I hope that just gives him a little bit of confidence. They're like, yeah, I'm going to do the thing. Yeah,
that's it. Beth, are you in agreement with the guys?
I said I couldn't pick between De Gea and Sancho, which is a bit of a cop-out because I thought Sancho was great, but De Gea kept us in it for me.
Yeah, he did, dude. He really did. He was that save in the second half that he tips underneath to flip over the bar was very Schmeichel-esque.
Yeah,
it was world class. And again, a clean sheet. A large part of that was down to him. Guys, that is it for your fan forum. All the match day vlogs are now up on United Stand. Do check them out as we finish here. All that's left for me to say is cheers for all the super chats, everyone in the chat. Levin, thanks for coming on as always, mate.
Thank you for having me. I just want to say, so wavy on Twitter is very quiet now that Sancho's actually gotten a goal. So big up to you. But I want to. Where's the Kenneth where it started now, bro? Can't see it, can we? All right then.
Jordan, mate, cheers for coming on, pal. You battled that internet all night, mate.
Mate, what is going on here? I'm on that Minnie Mouse dial-up somewhere. Apologies, but yeah, we got through it.
Nearly had you again then, right at the last minute, mate, as well. Beth, thanks for coming on.
Always a pleasure, and hopefully next time I'll know that we're live before I start putting in.
That's I forgot you did make an entrance there. Kev, we've had plenty to deal with comment-wise and surprises in shows recently, things that shouldn't have been said, but we got through tonight. All right, mate. Cheers for coming on, pal.
Thank you very much, as always. Enjoyed it. I'd forgotten what it was like to win a game of football. It's great. I sleep well now.
Guys, like I said, the fan vlogs are all up on the channel now. Do check them out and give your comments on them. Let us know if you agree. Share, subscribe to United Stands, and we will see you through the week as always, everyone. Good night. United win. Everyone's happy. Let's move on.